Today we're going to focus a bit more on finding missing angles, and this is what we did yesterday, and we went through 3 photos. So the first photo shows a 90-degree angle. Remember, sometimes we use that little red square. It won't always be red, it could be any colour, but they use this little square to show a right angle. Now, on the picture that you've been given, they're splitting the angle. Sometimes they're splitting it into 2, sometimes they're splitting it into 3. But the thing you need to remember is that this picture, this right angle, will always add up to 90 degrees. So if they're giving you a 72-degree angle and asking you, what's this missing angle? 90 subtract 72, because you just want to know the bit that's left. Next, they could give you a picture of angles on a straight line, and that would look something like this. They can split it into more than 2 parts if they want. If they have a picture that has this on it, well, that means that bit's a right angle. But we're going to find angles. This is called finding angles on a straight line. So let's say they split it into 2. Let's say this angle is 55 degrees. Can you remember what angles on a straight line add up to? 180. So angles on a straight line add up to 180. So if they've split this one into 2, we would need to do 180 subtract 55, which leaves us with 125 degrees. So that angle X is 125 degrees. They just use the X to kind of show you what angle they want. And then the final picture that we were looking at is this, angles around a point. So angles around a point. Now, I've already split this into 2. We've got this one here and this one here. Now, they won't expect you to find those angles, obviously, because all you know at this point in time that they add up to 360. Remember, angles around a point add up to 360. And they might give you this one, and they might ask you to find this one. Remember, sometimes they label that angle as X. They can label it as any letter. It doesn't really matter. They're just saying they don't know what it is. So if we've got a picture like this, we do 360, subtract 140, and that would give us 220 degrees. So this missing angle would be 220 degrees. So on the worksheet that you're going to look at today, you need to think before you answer each question, which of these numbers do I need to work with? Is the picture showing a right angle? If it is, you work with 90 degrees. Is the picture showing a straight line? If it is, you're working with 180 degrees. Or is the picture showing angles around a point? If it is, you need to work with 360 degrees. These are worth writing down. A right angle is 90 degrees. And if you want a photo, if you want to draw a sketch, it should look like that. The next one, remember, is angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. And if you want a diagram, I've done one for you. And the final one, angles around a point add up to 360 degrees. I'm just going to highlight the really important things. So that's a right angle is 90 degrees, a straight line is 180 degrees, and around a point would be 360 degrees. So what we're going to look at today, as well as the 3 things I've just talked to you about, angles in a right angle are 90, on a straight line are 180, around a point of 360. We're also going to look at a triangle, and I just want to show you something. Here, we agree, a triangle, yeah? Okay, so in this triangle, we've got 3 angles, and the angles are in the corners. Now, the mathematical word for corners is vertex or vertices. So if you do see that word vertex or vertices, it just means corners. Okay, so there's our angles. There's our angles in the corners. Now, watch what happens. If I take these angles, and I fit, and it has to be the angles that fit together. It has to be the corner of the triangle. If I fit them together, what do they make? Do they make a right angle? Do they make angles around a point? Or do they make a straight line? That's right. Look there. Sorry, it's a bit wonky. Make a straight line. Okay. Angles in a triangle make a straight line, and I've just showed you, and this would work with any triangle. Get a piece of paper, draw the angles on the corners, rip them off and try and fit them together. They will always fit together on a straight line. The reason for that is that angles in a triangle will always add up to 180. Doesn't matter what size the triangle is. If it's a triangle, those angles will add up to 180. And that's the extra bit of work that we're going to do today. So, as I've just said, angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if this angle here was 100 and this angle here was 45, what would this angle here be? There's two ways of doing this. What's the number that we must start with? What do the angles in a triangle add up to? It's right there, add up to 180. So I can start with 180, which is the whole thing, and then I can take 100 off, and I can take 45 off. Today you're fine to use your calculator. If I do that calculation, I'll get 35 degrees. The other way I can do it is I can start by adding up those angles that I can see. And then I know the extra angle must be 180, take off both of those angles. And I would still get the answer 35, so it doesn't matter which way you do it. You can either add them up then take them off, or you can take them off one at a time. And it doesn't matter what shape this triangle is, as long as it's a triangle, the angles will always add up to 180. So on this shape, we've got angles of 75 and 75. It's an isosceles triangle, so the angles at the bottom will be equal. And we know, because it's a triangle, those angles must add up to 180. So we take off the ones we know, because we want to know what angle is left. You can do it on a calculator, that's absolutely fine. The angle left would be 30 degrees. So that angle in there would be 30 degrees. Remember, another way of doing it would have been to do 75, add 75 to get 150, and then take that off 180. Still gets you the same answer. Now, the only thing I'd say about the different methods, if you're using a calculator, it really doesn't matter which way you do it. If you're doing it without a calculator, I would definitely suggest that way, because then you can use your column method to help you if you need it. It's a bit harder to use a column method to do this kind of sum. So, one final time before you do the work. Angles in a right angle add up to 90 degrees. Angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. And by the way, the line doesn't have to be like that, it just has to be straight. It can't be like that, for instance, that's not a straight line. As long as it's a straight line, and the angles, they can be either side of it as long as they're only one side of it. It's just the angles on one side of a straight line that add up to 180. So those ones are 180 degrees on a straight line. Then your angles around a point will always add up to 360 degrees. And finally, your angles in a triangle will always add up to 180 degrees. So before you do each of the questions on the worksheet, make sure you look really carefully and decide which of these numbers you will need to start with. Make sure you've got some notes to keep referring to and help you. Finish the worksheet, send me a photo, hopefully see you soon.